Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at the Warhammer 40,000 Metawatch. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Alright, so Death Guard, a lot of the more elite units went down and characters, but the basic stuff that everybody was taking went up. So Plague Marines are more expensive. Plague Burst Crawlers, again, indirect fire, more expensive. And then we see the stuff like the Death Showers, Fated Bloat Drones, and then Lord Violence and Typhus have gone down in points. No change to Deathwatch, so they got that big nerf early in the edition and basically have been unplayed and untouched since then, unfortunately. And then we see Drukhari have got quite a few points reductions, with the exception of the Void Raven Bomber. So obviously Games Workshop does not want people spamming flyers or indirect fire. They're very clear about that because it makes for feel bad moments for a lot of players. But we see Drazar went down, Grotesques, Hellions, Incubi, Raider, Reavers, Succubus, Talos, and Venom all went down in points. So you're just going to get a lot more in your army now. And then with those other changes, hopefully Drukhari will be in a decent place. So Gene Stealer Cults, the only change we see is Pure Serene Gene Stealers have gone down. And for Grey Knights, the only change we see is Brotherhood Librarian has gone up. Imperial Knights, we see points decreases basically across the board. And honestly, we were already seeing like mixed lists. Imperial Knights were very strong early in the edition. We saw some changes to the towering keyword and also some points nerfs on these guys. Obviously, the towering changes made some big differences. So they've sort of walked back some of the points increases. And I think now there's going to be a lot more incentive to use Imperial Knights at least equally to Chaos Knights because nobody can take 14 Armigers. So overall, good changes. Should see a lot more Imperial Knights and see them doing better. Leagues of Votann have been pretty strong. Thunderkin have been kicking butt. Hearthguard have been getting spammed quite a bit. And then also Sagatars. So we saw all those go up in points. Necrons with the new book been doing extremely well. Just won a big tournament and we see no changes. Very surprising considering they are as strong as Eldari. And we saw some massive changes to Eldari. So I think when it's all said and done, Necrons probably come out on top from this whole balanced Dataslate and points adjustments. Alright, so Orcs we saw some up and some down. Battle Wagon, Boom Ducka Snaz Wagon, Hunt Rig, Kill Rig, Killicons, Custom Boosta Blasta, Rock Truck Swig Buggy, Shock Jump Dragsta, and Megatrack Scrapjet all come down in points. And then we see Knobs, Squig Hog Boys, and Trucks all going up in points. Alright, and then Space Marines. So this is my main army. I'm definitely the most familiar with it, so I can give you my opinion a little bit more on this one. Aggressors went up in points. I think that was good. They're very strong. And then we see some interesting points decreases. So Assault Intercessors were already good, but really weren't getting played because there's just so many other good options. They came down to 75 and 150 points. Infernus Squads, I think are already really good. I've been using them quite a bit and they always perform well. They went down to 80 and 160 points. And then we see regular Intercessors came down to 80 and 160 as well. But the most important change, and the one that doesn't make a ton of sense to me, is Heavy Intercessors coming down to 100 and 200 points. And while not a lot of people are using Heavy Intercessors currently, I think this could potentially create issues because there was already a strong argument for spamming like 60 Heavy Intercessors. And now you can buy 6 squads of 10 for 1,200 points and they could be hell to get rid of. Anything that shoots them that's damage 1, they get +1 to their save against, so they get a 2+ save on, and they have 3 wounds apiece. So do not be surprised if suddenly you see people spamming 60 Heavy Intercessors and then whatever else they feel like playing. In my opinion, this was by far the biggest mistake that Games Workshop could have made. And I think we're going to see this actually like get walked back sometime in the near future. We also see Outriders came down in points. They were just overall terrible. I think more than anything, they need a combat weapon on their sergeant. Being able to take like a Power Fist, Thunderhammer or something like that would really just make them substantially better and actually like a viable option. And then we also see Centurion Devastators have gone up in points. And then Inceptors have gone up in points. A lot of people were spamming Inceptors, so it makes sense that they would raise the points on them. They're a very good utility piece. And along with the Aggressors, it totally makes sense. All right, and then we see Redemptor. He basically got a points decrease initially, and then they just walked that back. So technically he went up, but he's just back to where he was. Redemptor's really good. Overall strong. Even if you're spamming like 3 of these things, it's not going to make much of a difference. Whirlwind went up in points. Again, obviously indirect fire. People were taking like 3 of these and could potentially cause some feel bad moments. So it does not surprise me at all. But at 180, they're almost untakeable. And then everybody knew the scouts increase was coming. It was just a matter of time. They went up from 55 points to 65 points or 130 for 10. They're still really good at 65 points. So I don't think this makes like any difference at all. And depending what battle line units you were using, it's pretty much like offset. Like for instance, my Ultramarines army has 2 scout squads in it. So it went up by 20 points, but it also has like 2 Infernus units and some other stuff like Rabute Guilliman. So he went down by 10. My Infernus squads went down by 5 apiece. And the scout squads went up by 10 apiece. So it's just a wash. And then on top of that, Stern Guard went down to 90 and 180. So my army actually got cheaper. And I think for the most part, I think everybody knew the scout squad change was coming. So no real surprises here. I think really though, the biggest change is the heavy intercessors. And realistically, there's probably going to be a lot more people just overall spamming Space Marine Battle Line because they were already good. And I was on the edge of taking a lot of that stuff. And now with the points decreases, you almost have to. Not to mention I have a lot of it already painted up, so it'll be easy to just kind of swap some of that stuff in. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now back to the video. Space Wolf's doing quite well and no changes, but obviously they're going to be affected by some of the regular Space Marine changes. So the Tau Empire changes are interesting because we have the new codex coming not too far down the line, but we saw the crisis suits have went up again. And then we see the commander in crisis suit, commander enforcer suit, Riptide, and Vespid Stingwings all went down in price, which is very interesting because to tell you the truth, Riptides were already cool. And I've been considering running like the 3 Riptide or the Triptide list from back in the day. And the ghost skills are already really good at 160. Now the Riptide is only 5 points more. So there's a strong case to be made for running a super mechanized list with a bunch of ghost skills and a bunch of Riptides, maybe even like that Farsight list. So very cool, very fun. Looking forward to seeing how the new Tau stuff shakes it up though. No changes to Thousand Suns. All right, and then for Tyranids, we see quite a bit changing right here. So we see the Death Leaper has gone up. Gargoyles have gone up, which they were very good before. Neurolictor has gone up. Pyrovores have gone up. And then we see Broodlord came down. Gene Stealers came down. Norn Assimilator came down. Norn Emissary came down. Screamer Killer came down. Toxicrene, Trigon, and Tyrannofex all came down. So big changes for the Tyranids. And realistically, unless you were spamming Neurolictors or Gargoyles, potentially Pyrovores, this is a net positive for Tyranids. And I'm honestly curious how this is going to shake out because I don't think they were in a bad spot before. So very cool. All right, and then World Eaters, I got to say some interesting changes here. 8-bound went up, Exalted 8-bound went up, Karn the Betrayer went up, and then the Master of Executions went up. So I think this is going to be tough for World Eater players. It was already hard to like run a list successfully because they're just so one-sided. And they saw a lot of points increases with 10th edition launch. They have like some pretty limited choices for like what to take in your army. And Games Workshop made some of the stuff that you were running before like Hellbrutes and Chaos Spawns a lot less viable as choices. So it kind of pushed you into having to spam like certain units. And then now with the points increases on Master of Executions, which most lists had multiples of, and then the points increases on 8-bound and Exalted 8-bound, it's really going to hurt World Eaters a lot. I think the majority of lists were running like 5 or 6 selections from the 8-bound and Exalted 8-bound. So Games Workshop sort of like just plucked one of your units out of your army, and I'm not really sure why. I mean, I get that these units were pretty strong and obviously pointed a little bit low, but they really should have adjusted some of the other units and made them go down. The Forge Fiend and the Khorne Lord of Skulls is not really going to be like a viable replacement. So I think World Eaters are going to be in a tough place. So if you made it to the end, sorry you had to struggle through my terrible voice. Let me know what you think of the balance and points changes. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. I'm sure there's some things that are obvious that I missed. A lot of you guys play a particular army and know it a lot better than I do. So let me know what you think some of the biggest changes are, or if somebody else mentioned them. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. Special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on Games Workshop products. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm out of here.